Greetings, my name is the Myth Master. You might remember me from my video from some time ago where I looked at the historical evidence of Jesus and I demonstrated that there is no evidence. I was able to literally wipe away all evidence for the historical Jesus. But that was only my first step. Now I want to present to you how Jesus came to be in the Gospels. You may have heard of this as the Jesus myth theory, and I'm going to prove that the Jesus myth theory is correct. That Jesus is in fact just another version of Horus, Dionysus, and Mithras. Now I'm going to go through each one of those, and I want you to listen carefully, take notes, and you will see that Jesus is just another myth. First of all, let's look at Horus. Horus was born of a virgin exactly like Jesus in the Gospels. If you read the myth of Horus, you will see it is exactly the same as the virgin birth we find in the Gospels. You'll open up the myth and you'll see how Isis and Osiris, a married couple, how they conceived Horus through sexual intercourse, just exactly as in the Gospels, where the Holy Spirit was able to produce a child within the Virgin Mary. It's exactly the same thing. Absolutely. What about the death of Horus? Horus was crucified exactly the way Jesus was in the Gospels. When you look at the Gospels and you see him hanging on a cross, executed by Romans, that same story is in the myth of Horus. In the myth of Horus, little baby Horus is sitting in a swamp and a scorpion stings him, exactly the way it's described about Jesus in the Gospels. A scorpion sting and crucifixion on a Roman cross are exactly the same thing. Both of them pierce the skin. That means that they are the same thing. And the only way the Gospel writers could have gotten the story of the crucifixion was to look at Horus and see how little baby Horus was stung by a scorpion. What about Dionysus? Oh, this is really good. You'll really see how Jesus is based on Dionysus. Dionysus was the god of wine. What did Jesus drink? Jesus drank wine. How in the world could the ancients have ever come up with two different people who liked wine without copying from one another? That's the only way to explain it. For Jesus to have drank wine, it must have been taken directly from Dionysus. Now, what about the birth of Dionysus? Well, I will tell you. The birth of Dionysus was a virgin birth exactly the way we find it in the Gospels when it's described about Jesus. What happens with Dionysus is the god Zeus comes down and has sexual intercourse with a human. And then when that human mother saw Zeus in his glory, her body exploded, leaving only little baby Dionysus, which Zeus sewed to his thigh. Exactly as we find in the Gospels. You can just see the connection. They are so close. What about Mithras? Now this is very clear, and you might know that the cult of Mithras was popular right around the same time that Christianity was beginning. So obviously Christianity had to borrow from Mithras. Now the connections here are very, very clear, okay? Mithras was born of a virgin exactly the way we find it in the Gospels. Mithras emerges from a rock. Now I want to ask you, that rock, do you think that rock was involved in sexual intercourse? No, it was not. That rock was a virgin, exactly the way it is in the Gospels. Well, what about the death of Mithras? Well, Mithras didn't technically die, but he killed a bull. Exactly the way it is in the Gospels. So as we have the death of Jesus on the cross, and he bled on the cross, when Mithras killed the bull. guess what came out of the bull? Blood. There is no way that the gospel writers could have figured out that blood would come out of a crucified Jesus unless they looked at the cult of Mithras and saw that Mithras, when he killed the bull, blood emerged. I think I have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that Christianity is nothing but a knockoff of other pagan religions. I have proved it. So all of you pastors and seminary students and professors and church people, I think that I have just destroyed your faith. You can thank me anytime you want. As I close, I just want to remind you, as I did in my previous video, whatever you do, do not go to www.stephenjbedard.com. Do not go to that website, because Stephen J. Bedard, whose website is www.stephenjbedard.com, insists on responding to the Jesus myth theory with facts. Now, I'm telling you, we don't need facts. It's a good story by itself. So, as I close, take care and don't go to www.stephenjbedard.com.